Aldous Huxley wrote that the 20th century plague was not the Black Death, but rather the grey life. And he could have been describing life under COVID-19. When I was elected a year ago, I did not set out to take away freedoms nor to shut down businesses and close schools. But to save lives, we had no choice but to live much of a grey life this last year. My priority has been to support residents and businesses locally through this pandemic, helping tens of thousands who've written to me. But now my priority is making sure that I help those that are in need and that we have a road out of national lockdown, and the vaccine gives us that. We already have 3 vaccination centres in Rutland and Melton, and almost 50,000 people across our primary care networks have been vaccinated. Now, as we see that light at the end of the tunnel, I want to thank all those in Rutland and Melton who have borne these costs with such grace and selflessness over the past year, those who have helped each other under the toughest domestic conditions we have seen since the war. In particular, I'd like to recognise Tim Weston and his fellow teachers and students at Oakham School and Rutland Plastics. In the first lockdown, they made so many tens of thousands of visors that I was arranging delivery of these masks to hospitals and settings all around the country. Stuart and Holly East, who own the White Hart pub in Liddington, who cooked 300 meals a day for NHS staff. Tony Fowler, the local milkman who spent his break shopping for isolated residents. Governor Neil Thomas, who rightly received an OBE for his work, and his prison officers and staff for HMP Stocken. And finally, our wonderful soldiers across Rutland and Melton, who ran pop-up testing sites around East Midlands. But there are so many more I'd wish to praise, from Clawson Kindness to Sharon Brown to Rutland Sewing. These are people who set about helping others without any thoughts of their own recognition. They are the unsung heroes of Rutland and Melton and the very best of Britain. But I also wish to appreciate the extraordinary sacrifices of our police and our health and care staff, both informal and formal carers, and our council staff. Our healthcare workers have worked tirelessly to save lives, and I am enormously grateful. But also those often forgotten in our shops, our binmen, and those in unseen roles. I'd also like to recognise our businesses, shops and traders who've forgone profits to help keep COVID rates down. Finally, Mr Deputy Speaker, I want to thank the hundreds, if not thousands of women who've written to me asking for little more than for their partner to be with them at pregnancy scans and when they give birth. I am proud to have fought for them, and I want to thank Matt Hancock and the Prime Minister for their support on this issue. I'm also pleased to have lobbied ministers to secure the exemption for children under 5 from the rules around 2 adults meeting in public during lockdown, because we had to make sure that the most vulnerable did not suffer most at this time. Now we must focus on returning to normality and giving people back their freedoms as soon as is possible, and make sure that our recovery is as fast and as equitable as possible. But thank you again to everyone in Rutland and Melton who has worked so hard to defeat this virus. Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker.